Hi, everyone. I think we're just going to wait a couple minutes just to make sure everyone's able to join in before we get started. All right, I think we can get started. So, hello, everyone. I am Julian Brunsma, the data coordinator for DetroitData.org. Welcome, everyone, to this month's data forum on traffic data and crashes. I'm very excited to welcome our panelists who have agreed to join us. Very excited to hear their talks today. Just a bit of background, we host these monthly data forums to give context about specific data topics with a panel of experts and practitioners. If you're interested, you can join us on Facebook, or we recently uh, established a Slack channel where we can discuss. So you can weigh in on upcoming topics, get any questions answered, stuff like that. So a bit of background on DetroitData.org. It's the open data catalog for Detroit and the metro region. So this is a community data catalog and a community portal that hosts over 1,400 data sets from seven open data portals and over 50 organizations. Um, and then also a background on our Go Data Commission for the city. It's a diverse group of stakeholders, including data experts, community leaders, and representatives from various sectors. So we're dedicated to ensuring that the city's open data initiatives serve the needs of all residents and promote informed decision-making. So to welcome our panelists today, we have Darius Mason of the City of Detroit's Office of Mobility Innovation, Jenya Abramovich from SEMCOG, and then also Patrick Bowman from the U of M Transportation Research Institute. So welcome all of you. I think we can get started with our panelist talks. Darius, if you'd like to get started, you should have screen sharing capabilities in case you have some slides you'd like to share with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm gonna be a little bit frazzled just because a lot's going on. Because you guys know Move America's coming, and our entire team has been like getting prepared for that. So honestly, maybe the worst time for him, but I'm excited to be here. I'm gonna actually try to share a little bit about what my colleague Michael Hale Jr. is doing. He was supposed to join the call and actually take over for this panel, but we're having some difficulties on that end right now. I'm gonna talk about the Smart Modes project, which stands for. You said I can share. Sorry, hold on one second.
Yep. You
Share.
should be a co-host, so you should be able to share.
Yep, I see it. Uh, I did not know I can share. Hold on one second. Let me pull the tab up and then get. I'm gonna pull up the Smart Modes data portal, and that is we were able to combine with MyoVision and Urban Logic in order to get real-time crash and road safety hub data. and I don't work with Zoom often, so please bear with me, guys. Here we go. And I'm currently sharing the actual page, which is I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'll share the link in the chat, and also so you
We can
guys can
see it.
pass it on. Okay, great. It'll give you a real-time crash data analysis of the month prior to the month we're currently in. So this one should go all the way to August 31st. This map says August 1st. So I'll have Michael update that. But it will give you data from all of the Myovision cameras in the greater downtown region. They're right now trying to go into phase two so we can get that instant crash data analysis for all Myovision cameras across the city of Detroit. I believe right now there's around 20 that have this capability. We're trying to get it up to I forgot how many Myovision cameras are actually in the city of Detroit. If anyone actually knows that, I would love to hear. But it'll give you crash data information from not just the city, but you can actually go to points of interest, whether it's Belle Isle, Bagley, Brightmoor. And this is open to anyone in the public, and it'll give you all of the crashes over the month. So in January of 2024, there was 58 crashes within Brightmoor. In July, it was 36. Um, they have fatalities on here. They have and then they also have crash data by hour, which has been really good with trying to combine with DDOT and also with DPW when we do road construction projects to see exactly when driving is more dangerous in these areas in these neighborhoods specifically. We also have top 10 intersections, the most busy intersections within this community. For instance, I-96 and Virgil is used 26% of the time, which is, I believe, that accounts to at least 24, because I think it's like 24 times 8. So 24 times that intersection will be used, and there'll be a left turn on that intersection. Um, it's and then turning movements. This is turning movements for all turning movements combined. So rights and lefts, Evergreen and Schoolcraft in this neighborhood will obviously be the biggest lead. And then we have violation patterns where they're speeding, running through red lights in this area tracked by the microvision cameras. Um, and then I was gonna also piggyback after Michael spoke today about what we're doing over in shared mobility. We're using crash data we're getting from Spin and Lime and Boaz to better plan for the next permit cycle so that we can get better infrastructure for our micromobility platform. I'm gonna stop sharing screen. Sorry if I'm saying a lot, by the way. Just a little nervous. Do you guys have
You
any
are all
questions?
good.
Do you guys have any questions about Detroit smart modes?
I think we had a question in the chat asking about violations on the dashboard.
Yeah, what does that mean? Right? It's a violation heat map and then
Yes,
intersection.
yes, it's a violation heat map. Phase one, I know violations is run because this is intersection based because my vision camera that's running through red lights. So people running through red lights. I don't think they count speeding yet. I think that's something they're looking to do in later phases to count speeding as well, because we all know running through red lights is a huge problem, but definitely in the city of Detroit. But speeding is always the biggest issue when it comes to public safety concerns.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can have any more questions at the end during our Q&A section. I'm going to welcome Jenya from SEMCOG to do your presentation.
Hi, thank you for having me. Let me share my screen. I have some slides prepared because I never trust live demos of our tools. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep, looking good.
Okay, great. So, um, Again, my name is Jenya Abramovich. I'm a transportation planner at SEMCOG, that's the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, and I work in our transportation modeling and mobility group, and I oversee our safety program at SEMCOG. Before I go into some of the data that we have, I just wanted to provide a little bit of background on SEMCOG in case folks weren't familiar with it. So we are a regional planning agency for Southeast Michigan, which includes the 7 counties and over 200 communities that are shown on this map. So beyond just the city of Detroit. And we help local governments serve their residents better by providing data, sharing best practices, and helping coordinate on all sorts of planning efforts, whether it's transportation to environment, economic development activities, and so on. And like I said, I manage our safety program. So it's one of our main focus areas in our transportation department. And we have a regional transportation safety plan that was most recently updated in 2023. You can check it out on our website to get more information on it. But just in short, it uses a data-driven approach to roadway crash analysis and offers a framework for eliminating fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways for all types of road users. And our plan for the first time adopts a vision of zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries by 2050 in Southeast Michigan. And the plan includes policies and detailed actions for how we, along with our safety partners, plan to achieve that vision. So why do we care about safety specifically for our region? Here's just some stats for you to think about as you're, analyzing crash data. On average, 1 person is killed and 6 more are seriously injured every single day in Southeast Michigan. And each year, over 100 pedestrians and bicyclists, our most vulnerable road users, are killed on our roadways. That's an annual economic cost to our region of about $5 billion. And if you take in comprehensive cost of all of that, it's more than 3 times that amount. And then just on the right, I have a chart that shows some of our historical 5-year moving averages for the number of fatalities and serious injuries in Southeast Michigan from 1995 to 2023. And, historically, we've been making a lot of progress in this area. But as you can see, since about the recession, those numbers have been increasing. So there is a lot of work to be done in the realm of transportation safety. So one of the ways we do assist our local governments and safety stakeholders is through all the data and resources that we provide regarding traffic and safety. And so this slide just lists some of the different interactive data tools and other resources that we have on our website. So things like community profiles, which is summary information for either a community or a county or a series of communities. I'll show a little bit of that on the next slide. We also have different tools where you can pull traffic count information, traffic crash data. If you're searching for data for a specific intersection or road segment, we have a tool for that. We have a tool that shows high frequency crash locations, so your worst locations for either number of crashes or number of fatalities and serious injuries over 5 years. And we publish an annual quick facts report that summarizes the latest crash trends in our region. So I'm not going to go through every tool because we have so many on our website, but if you go to semcog.org, you can find all of these that I'm referencing today. So this is just a snapshot of community profiles. You can get all sorts of information from demographic information, economic, housing, environment data. But if you go to the transportation tab, that's where it summarizes different transportation data. And as you scroll down on the right-hand side, shows summary of crashes by severity, by type, by involvement or emphasis area that we like to call for the community that you filtered for. So right now, this is just showing overall for a region, but you can use the community filter to filter specifically for like a city of Detroit, or if you want to include, Hamtramck and Highland Park in those numbers for your analysis, you can do that as well. Just to show you another example, on the top of the data page, you can toggle between the different tools that I mentioned. So this is just another one, high frequency crash locations. This is showing now just filtered for City of Detroit, the top roadway segments based on the overall number of crashes from the last 5 years of data. Um, the top 20 locations, and again, you can change the filters, but it shows you the local ranking, the county ranking, and the regional ranking for each one. And these are interactive tools. So when you see a segment, you can click on the hyperlink and it takes you to detailed crash information for that specific location. And you can download that data and look at the individual crash reports there if you're interested in that. We also have many interactive maps. I'm just going to focus in on one right now, just to highlight for you for this session. So we have a crash locations map where when you come to it, the default shows you this quick analysis showing kind of where there's the highest concentration of um, injuries from crashes, but you can toggle between overall crash um, hotspots and just the individual crash points. And there's all sorts of filters on the side that you can select between. So you can add multiple years, different crash types, you can zoom into specific communities. Maybe you want to filter crashes by type of roadway or different key factors. You can do all of that. And then when you zoom into the map and click on one of these bins, you can get more detailed information on the number of crashes and injuries in the zone. Or if you drill down further, you can see the individual crash locations, pick a crash, see some of summary data for it, and download the specific crash report form for that. But everything you filter on here, you can also download at the bottom of the map in a spreadsheet format or in a shapefile format, so you can do further GIS analysis if you're interested in going further with the data. And we also, like I said, have so many more maps on our map gallery. These are just some that I thought might be relevant to this group. So we have from our safety plan, our high injury network analysis, where we identified locations in our region that have a history of fatal and serious injury crashes, our excess capacity analysis. So this is where perhaps these roads might be good candidates for either road diets or traffic calming. We have non-motorized data, we have traffic volume data, pavement condition data, and I think most importantly, that road jurisdiction map. That's a very important data set, because if you have a location and you don't know where to start, who to contact, it's just because the road's in the city of Detroit doesn't mean it's under city jurisdiction. It could be a county road, it could be an MDOT road. So this map tells you who the owner is and who to contact to get in touch about a specific road. You can see all this and more on our website, semcog.org. We also have an open data portal where you can download, I think, most of this data directly. If you just want to do your own analyses, you're welcome to do that. Here is my contact information if you want to get in touch after this session, but I'm also happy to entertain questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we'll save questions for our Q&A at the end. But yeah, if Patrick, if you'd like to go next.
Sure. And feel free to cut me off if I run over, because I'm used to talking about the data that I do for a long time and I enjoy it. So, but my name is Patrick Bowman. I'm a statistician at the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. Let me share my screen. So I work closely with the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning, and part of what I do is what we call technical assistance projects. The Office of Highway Safety Planning is mostly funded by NHTSA, so we have grants through them, and I do statistics projects for them. So data on the side, and then we also host a site called Michigan Traffic Crash Facts, which is available to the public, www.michigantrafficcrashfacts.org. And so we get the most recent closed year of data from the state, and I build it every year. And then we put it up on our data query tool. And then over the course of the summer, which is right now because the end of our fiscal year is the end of this month, we put publications up. So I'm just going to walk through the website a little bit. If there are broader data questions, I can answer those too, but um, I'll just show what I do with OHSP for the most part. So we actually redesigned this. So if you're familiar with Michigan Traffic Crash Facts, last year we did a redesign of the site, and it should be smoother and you can search everything. And I like to say that it's more cohesive than it used to be because you can get to the query tool from publications and vice versa. And there was a little bit of that before, but so if I just click on annual crash publications, we have the entire state of Michigan, but later I'll just focus on like Wayne County for this group, but or Detroit specifically, we can even do that. But we do have data for every county and city and township around the state. So even down to that level, even to road segments if people want that too. So, but this is, I'm just going to briefly go through some statewide reports. We have historical data. Oh yeah, we're still working on 2024. So some of the publications are missing. So if I go back, we actually have data to 1952 on the publication side. I'll just show one of those quickly because it's kind of interesting to see. So we call them traffic crashes, but back then they still called them accidents. So you see, this is kind of like a what's going to happen in 1953. So it's kind of interesting, but these evolved over time. So if I scroll through these trends, these are 10-year trend tables, I believe, or less than 10 years in this case, but they evolved to 10-year trend tables. So if I go back, so they evolved into what they are today, and there's been other iterations over time, but I'm just showing you the oldest and then the newest versions. And so we have publications here. These are just death and injury, but there's alcohol involved, and these go on and on. So I don't have time to go through all of this, but this is just our historical, but we also have reports geared toward age, alcohol, drugs, deer, crash specific. I'll go back to 2024. I think that 10 years not quite available because I'm still working on it. But almost everything is actually released at this point, except for our full publications, and then just that 10-year that I just showed you is coming very soon, as soon as I have time. But definitely by the end of the month. And so, yeah, so we added infographics not that long ago. Well, it's probably been 10 years now. And we added some, you know, more interesting images. So this is just different parties and crashes and the counts in the table, so that it's easier for users to see it rather than just a bunch of tables like this. We also have those in graphs. And we try to explain some of this in these publications as well. So this is statewide, and we also have UP specific or county community, so all the cities and townships around the state. Fact sheets, regional profiles, so they're broken into different groups for Michigan State Police districts and posts and counties in different areas. And crash density maps, which focus on specific counties and shade by different areas. I'm just going to show a fact sheet. All of these should be released now, or they are released now. So if I click on winter weather, then you'll see more of the infographics. So these represent 300 people for the person injury severity in winter weather crashes. And then here, you can go back in time here now as well, as far back as we have the winter weather one at least. And so if I click on deer, then you'll see a different type of infographic. And again, this one goes back farther in time. So that's the publications. There's a lot more, but I don't have time to go through it. We also have a resource section for the action teams around the state. But I want to and then you can also search by region. That I briefly touched on these regions and how you can get to the query tool directly from here. So the queries are all here. And then those profiles that I referred to for the different counties and different areas around the state are here as well. Again, I just want to get to the query tool before I run out of time. So this is the query tool. This is what people are really drawn to on our site, I think. I mean, some people really like the publications, but here they can interact with the data. So you can select crashes units, which would be a driver, pedestrian, bicyclist, or a train engineer, or people. So all the people in the vehicles plus pedestrians and bicyclists. And you'll see the count update. And it defaults to the most recent year. And we have the closed data, so we only have up to 2024. But you can go back to 2004 here. So I'm just going to click 10 years of data. So then you see all the people in crashes in 10 years, and it also updates the text. And then you can select various locations around the state. So like I said, if I just wanted Wayne County, you can also select specifically Detroit. So then it'll update and show you how many people and crashes in 10 years in Wayne County. And you can select specific areas on the map, and we use Google Maps. But I don't have time to go through all that right now. And there is a more advanced filtering where you can use ors instead of ands. But for now, I'm just going to show some simple queries with, so we have people. I'm going to do person, degree of injury. So we can see how many fatalities were in Wayne County. So 1,945 fatalities in that 10 years of data up to 2024 in Wayne County. And then you can, oh, I should mention all the fields from the crash report or UD10 are here, except for the redacted fields. So I searched, but you can actually scroll through this list as well. And we've color coded them based on that crash unit person level. And then I don't have time to go through all the output, but you can even download the crash reports, or you can look at trends. I'm just going to show some on a map. Actually, I'm going to show the table real quick too. So if I want to do year, so this will show all the crashes by year, and this is sortable. So you can see how many 2020 had the highest. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on fatalities, the highest number of fatalities. There was a problem during the pandemic. We know this, so that makes sense. And then you could split it up as many ways as you want. So you can make these tables more and more complicated and just drag them. And then you can sort on the individual. So if you want to sort on December, it's still 2020 for fatalities. But that's what the tables are, and you can export them as down here at the bottom, a CSV, or just copy and paste the data. I like to put them in Excel and then make my own graphs. And then also, I said I won't show all these, but I will show the crash map. So it shows the region that I've selected, which is Detroit, or Wayne County in this case. And then all these points are like the heat map of crashes. So if I selected all of Michigan, you would see that big red blob on Detroit because of the population and the number of crashes. But if you zoom in far enough, you can see the individual crash points. Hopefully. Maybe I have too many selected. Oh, they're there. Okay. Good. Um, and then if you click on the crash, you'll see additional information, and you can color code these by the specific year. So if you want a year, it'll show you the year in which it occurred, and additional information, and then Street View, just like Google Maps. And here's that crash report. So you can download the individual crash report. And they're redacted, so we don't have personal identifiers. Excuse my email in the background here, but and then what's great about these is you can usually, maybe not in the specific one I picked. Oh, there it is. So this one's kind of long because they've added extra pages for the number of people in the crash probably. But you can get an idea of what happened in the crash from the police officer. And there's usually a diagram. If you go back too far in time, say 2004, 2004 is the farthest it goes back for the query tool. It will be a hand drawing and possibly handwritten. But now all the crash reports are electronic, so most of them you'll see something like this, or you might see an Esri map or a Google map. It just depends on the vendor that they use for the crash report. I'm not going to take up more time because I could, like I said, I could keep going on and on. But this is the site, and oh, this is a different table that I was working on. But you can pull up, this is pedestrian data. But if you want, there's also contact information. Oh, so you can search the entire site if you have something specific that you're looking for, but there's also video tutorials and presentations and a help page. And if you need to contact us, you can contact me directly if you want. And if you contact this email, it'll go to people on my team and people at the Office of Highway Safety Planning. Yeah, so I'd be happy to answer questions. And I can also help with queries. So there's a share feature. So if you had a specific question about a graph or a table or just a query, it'll pop up that page directly if I send it to you in an email.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all of our presenters. I think we can spend the second half of this meeting doing our question and answers. So I open it up to anyone who might have any questions. A question I had, we have all these really cool dashboards, right, from all three of you. But what are the key sources of traffic data? Like where are we, how is this data being collected? And, what are the strengths and weaknesses of these different kinds of data collection?
So I can talk about SEMCOG data for the majority of our data sets, including the crash data. It does come from the state of Michigan, so I know both Michigan Traffic Crash Facts and SEMCOG use the same data from OHSP or Michigan State Police for the crashes, but our other data as well, like road network information comes from the state. Some of our other data I mentioned, like traffic volumes or non-motorized data, either we might collect it ourselves or um, we collect data from other local governments who share their data with us, and we just aggregate it at the regional scale.
Yeah, we get the data from the Michigan State Police, which is a criminal justice information center, the traffic crash reporting unit, because they have crash and crime. And I work pretty closely with those people as well, but they're technically separate from OHSP.
Oh,
So it was just yeah. So I know because I used to go up there every other day because I do consulting for them directly. So I'm in meetings with them all the time. And Jenya's part of like the TRCC, and so we're all familiar with each other. But um, yeah, that's where we get the data. But we also have other sources that I didn't show, like she mentioned. We have population data from census. We have
mhm.
VMT from MDOT, and the roadway elements, I believe, sits in MDOT now too. And what did I say? VMT population. Oh, we have census elements that are separate. So we have the community survey, which I don't think exists anymore, but we also have that on the data query tool because we've incorporated additional elements as part of a separate project that you can table on with that comes from like essentially the CDC. Yeah. So if you want to know like particulate matter for diesel or something, like that's one of the elements because we want to look at health outcomes in that census area also. So our site goes onto census tracts or roadway elements because we have road segments that I mentioned but didn't have time to show. There's
And I
lots.
guess sorry. To the second part of your question about kind of strengths and weaknesses of it, I think a big strength for things like the road data and the crash data, since we're getting it from the same source, we're all consistent in the way, we share and present the information. The downside to it is that, we get this information once a year. So you're just getting a snapshot in time, unlike the dashboard that Darius shared for City of Detroit. What's neat about that with the MyoVision cameras, you're getting more real-time information and you can see more up-to-date information quickly. Whereas, like for us, we're just getting and working on the 2024 crash data and we're almost done with 2025 already. So there's a little bit of a lag in what we can share.
That's what I was gonna say too, about the smart modes project is that because it's coming directly from the cameras, we're able to get it like a month or two after the crash, while SimCog has to wait a year. And I would love to figure out a way, and I know it's expensive grant funding wise, but to get like that MyoVision data across the entire counties or all the counties to SimCog, so we can have a more cohesive safety network when it comes to driving. That's a conversation we could potentially have later, but but we try to see because smart modes has only been active, the dashboard and everything's been active for the past 5 months, so we're still like getting the kinks out. So I'll say that's the downside that is new, so it's still clunky a little bit. But like for instance, it's supposed to have August's data, but when we went in there, it only had until July. So um, those are the downsides on the smart modes project that I see personally.
Yeah, and with the live data with our site, we were actually part of our site was when the governor asks for a number. So I originally started working with them. This is the story I was told. The governor asked for a number. Someone from the governor asked OHSP, MDOT, and someone else, I don't know, and got three different numbers. Well, it's because there's a live data set and there's a closed data set, and MDOT is probably looking at trunk line roads or something. So this is Michigan Traffic Crash Facts is supposed to be, which is the same as what SEMCOG has actually. It's supposed to be the official closed data set. So that's why we don't have 2025. And the state actually has uh, it's password protected, but researchers can get access. It's called MyCat, transportation safety has all the acronyms, but um, it has the live data and it's a dashboard as well. So yeah, that would be a big downside. We actually talked about having live data at one point, but it would be too complicated because it's housed within the state also. So that's kind of the MyCat thing.
Gotcha. Let's see. Anyone else got any questions? Well, if no one else does, another question I had, what are the key challenges facing traffic and transportation in Detroit, and how can data be applied to help solve these problems? Oh, see, Ted, you raised your hand. You can go next.
Everybody's so excited to talk about Detroit's problems. Um, I think non-motorists. So I can tell you, Michigan-wide non-motorists are a growing concern, and actually fatalities for pedestrians, non-motorists being bicyclists and pedestrians, went down in 2024, but that's still a concern, especially in an area like Detroit because of the downtown area and the population, and people come to Detroit often. So a place like that or Grand Rapids or something, that would be a large concern. And also impaired driving is also a large concern because that's usually about like a third of the crashes in general each year. And we've noticed shifting patterns for the impairment crashes too, which is really interesting in recent years.
I definitely agree with that. I think the other thing I would add to types of crashes is like just in general speed related crashes. So with the safe system approach, our focus is eliminating fatalities and serious injuries. We know people are going to make mistakes, but we don't want those mistakes to cost them their lives while they're out on the road, whether they're walking, biking, or driving or taking transit. So it's just a physics question, right? When you're driving faster and you hit someone, their chances of surviving the crash are much lower than if you're driving at a slower speed limit. And I think so many of the roads in the city of Detroit are overbuilt for the current traffic volumes because they were built in a time when we were expecting, 2 million people living in the city and that sort of thing. So roads that are like a Gracia, for example, which consistently shows up as our worst road in our region for fatalities and serious injuries, and specifically pedestrian fatalities. Um, it's built like a highway, but posted for 35 miles per hour. But I know speaking to like police officers uh, who patrol that road say they often see drivers going 50, 60, even 70 miles an hour in some cases because those are the ways those roads were designed. And another thing, and I think Darius touched on this earlier, is funding is always an issue. So while we are aware of some solutions, like even on the data side of getting cameras and seeing real-time information and maybe adjusting uh, on the fly, like traffic operations, for example, to make things work more smoothly, it's just funding limitation to actually implement that on a larger scale. Um, yeah.
And I would say, for Detroit specifically, also community engagement. Like anytime we try to slow something down, whether it's Mac app or we put the islands on liver noise,
Mhm.
we as data people, I've realized this in the past couple of months, past couple of years, that we also have to communicate the story better as well. Because when you try to take away people going 40 miles an hour on an open road like Mac Ave or Jefferson and make them go to appropriate 35 and 30, which is much safer for everyone, including the bikers in the bike lanes, which is my chief concern. Um, the people react negatively to that because they don't understand exactly the reason why we're doing it outside of just us saying blankly is safety. I think we have to figure out a way to communicate that definitely to the Detroit market and also some of the other suburbs as well, because Gratiot is consistently a problem no matter what the speed limit is. If we can make it 25, people are still gonna go 60 on Gratiot. So just being able to like to convey that story and create different patterns through community engagement, through signage, something is also something I'm personally trying to work towards.
Thank you. I think that's a really, really good point. I mean, I can completely see why people don't want to slow down. They got to get places. All right, Ted, what was your question? It- Okay, so wrote in the chat, who do you know are the main users for these platforms, and if it is having an impact on crash frequency or injury severity? So yeah, who are the main users of these platforms?
So I know for SEMCOG tools and data, our primary audience is local governments within our region. So the engineers, planners who work for the cities, townships, villages, counties, and their consultants, especially when they're working on different road projects, they'll reference our data, but it is open and available to all of the public. So I don't know off the top of my head, like how many hits we get from, just public users versus our partner agencies. But yeah, I think that's the main audience. And then if it's having impact on crash frequency or injury severity, I think that's dependent on how it's used. And I don't always know how people are using our data, but I think for specific road projects that we are aware of where folks are using our data, you do see impact, but again, it's location specific, not necessarily region-wide work, right? Because the system is so fragmented into so many different jurisdictions. We have over 200 different jurisdictions, right, working on this in different capacities.
Yeah, Michigan Traffic Crash Facts is statewide, so hopefully everybody. I know we also keep track of the analytics through Google, but I don't know off the top of my head either what it is, but I know we have a lot of users because I go around the state and actually the nation and present. SEMCOG is also there's a conference that I go to every year, and SEMCOG is also presented at that conference, I believe, in the past. It's called the Traffic Records Forum. So it's people like us in all the states, plus the state employees and then the federal people. And it's this same type of conversation, but with different states too. Um, but that being said, we have that email on our website. So I know for a fact that we get the public that just go and look for crashes, and we get transportation researchers because I get questions from them in my inbox. And we get people who are researchers from outside of the state looking at transportation studies. And like, for example, I was just at an EMS conference over the weekend, this past weekend, and it was in the UP. And we weren't really sure what to expect because I'd never presented the site in the UP before. And we just had a booth. We weren't really presenting, but we had a lot of positive response. And some of the first responders even use our website. So you never really know who, and I mean, that was the whole point, right? We want to link the crash data. So where a crash is occurring so that, first responders can get to people quicker, which is more of an issue in the UP because things are more spread out. But in general, hopefully it's everybody using the site is what I'm getting at. And I think that all three of us would probably say the same thing. So we might not always know who's using the site, but hopefully it is making a difference. And I just know based on the feedback that we're getting, or the questions that we're getting too, that people do use it. And those fact sheets that I showed, I know the press uses that. So if the press can even talk about distraction, right? That's another hot topic. So if they want to, if someone wants to put out an article on that, they could go to the site or ask us questions. Yeah, so that's the idea.
All right, looks like Jacob has their hand raised if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, I'm just a regular person, advocate who also uses this website a lot. Mainly the crash facts one. Do you think making the data like more accessible, like having this website has helped like advocate for policy change, such as like adopting Vision Zero and complete streets?
Yeah, hopefully that's the idea behind going to the national conference and presenting too, because the states bounce ideas off of each other. So the infographics actually, I I say stole, but I worked closely with different states to come up with I mean we designed our own infographics, but I took the idea from a different state, right? So a lot of what we've done over time is because we have the funding in Michigan that we can do this, and the data is so good. Some of the states struggle because they don't have they don't even have 2024 data at this point. So, and they might not have the resources to build a site. So we're lucky actually in Michigan. I think that the data is good. And people can go directly through the state and researchers can request the full data sets even. Um, did that answer your question at all? I don't know. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and people I find that because crash reports aren't typically made available to the public, so if someone is specifically like someone from the public is going to look for their crash or something, they could go to Crashfax instead of paying the state for that specific crash report. And they might just want to see what happened in what the police or the law enforcement officer said happened, in the diagram.
That's true, actually. I do know that individuals look up their specific crash reports using our maps too, because I'll not often, but sometimes get emails from people that's like don't like how a class or a crash is categorized or they disagree with something in it, and I have to tell them politely to contact the officer who wrote the crash because I don't control what's the crash report because I don't control what's in there. They might not like that a crash is coded as an older driver crash, for example, or something like that. And then the other example I thought of is from time to time, we're contacted by local reporters or um, news who look at our map and maybe because we put out a news release that we updated it with the latest, year of data, and they'll look at a location and see, oh wow, there's so many of these types of crashes here. Um, can you come and talk about, non-motorized safety? Or sometimes depending on the season, they say, oh, we're noticing a lot of deer crashes in these communities. And we are also hearing complaints. Can you talk about this? I think that's the first step in policy change is like getting people aware of an issue and talking about it. And then once residents get engaged in a topic, then their policymakers get more involved in it as well.
I had another one that's a little more specific. Do you know why this year's data took a couple extra months to get out? And is there anything that we as in regular people, can do to kind of like advocate that there's obviously a huge demand for that data and getting it out earlier would be nice?
Oh, getting it out earlier would be great.
Yeah, so specifically for me, like I've done it the last couple years. I forget her last name, Lisa somebody.
Lisa
Because
Park.
yeah, because there's the bike ride of Silence is in May
Oh,
15th-ish, and obviously that's very early in the year for a lot of data to be released. So I've asked like specifically for like, Wayne County or Detroit data um early. And so that's kind of like one of my use cases. And so this year I know it was like I mean, like weeks ago. Um,
yeah, literally like 3 weeks ago. So, or two, or it's confusing because I was in the UP for part of this, and I usually would be doing data analysis. But so yeah, there's a conference called the Traffic Safety Summit in Michigan every year, put on by the Office of Highway Safety Planning, and people like us go and law enforcement. And anyway, that is in March or April, and the data used to be ready in time for that conference. So. When I really noticed the difference in 2020 and 2021 because of the pandemic, and it had to do with waiting for death reports because they do look up all the fatalities because they provide additional information for fatal crashes and fatalities. They investigate them further and they have to report them to the federal government through FARS, which is a national data set fatality analysis reporting system. Anyway, that being said, it just seems to be more and more of a delay each year. I'm not sure why. I mean, our hope is that it would be May, June, like optimally, right? And last year it was the beginning of July, I believe, and that was the latest it had ever been, and now it's August. So I get an early cut of the data too because I try to help the state look for problems, but it's not always the closed official data set, so it doesn't really always help me. Um, Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think we all are probably right there with you, unless you're getting the live data, which is a different thing. But um, yeah, because there are campaigns that, especially during the summertime, that we would like to have them be able to roll out with the most recent data, and that's not possible. So we're actually in talks about this with the state. I don't know what can be done, but we're going to try to find out in this next year. So hopefully that will be addressed.
I will say, while I'm also not happy that every year it's later and later, from my understanding and talking with other states and MPOs in other states, we still get the data way faster than other states do. Sometimes they're multiple years behind, and sometimes they don't even get the level of detail that we get. So despite the delays and challenges that we have, we're in a really good spot in Michigan, compared to other states.
Yeah, I think we're totally lucky. I think that's right.
Can anyone ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I stumbled upon this in my email and thought I would check it out. Um, I was my son was killed in an accident on Woodward Avenue last year, and I found Jenya's and Patrick's presentations helpful regarding information on crashes. So, and I would like to pursue getting more information about these crashes and I mean about that particular crash. And so I wanted to ask, I missed exactly where Patrick said that he was reading his, he, the um, presentation that he made. Where was that data found? So that I can go back and look at that.
Yeah, it's a public website, so it's called Michigan Traffic Crash Facts. So it's just www.michigantrafficcrashfacts.org. So all one word. And I can share that in the chat. But
Okay.
so if you know the date, and first of all, I'm really sorry to hear about that. That's really unfortunate. And so that's what we're trying to prevent. Um, but if you wanted to even download that crash report and the date and the time and the area, you could narrow it down and look for that report and find out more information.
Okay, thank you. And Jenya, the presentation that you made was regarding SEMCOG, correct? Oh, I see you just put it there. Okay.
So I just put in the chat the link to our safety page that links directly to some of the different tools I mentioned. And I'm also going to add the link to our overall data and section. So you can, if you're interested in non-safety but other road data, you can get there as well.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay. I think we're ready to wrap up. If anyone has any closing thoughts, I did have a closing question. If you had a magic wand to change any one thing about Detroit's traffic infrastructure, what would that be?
If I had a magic wand, I would say slowing the speeds down and creating a better bike lane infrastructure just so that our non-motorized patrons are also just as safe as our motorized patrons. That's what I would change if I had a magic wand.
I agree completely. I was thinking slowing speeds and right sizing all our roads to make sure we have safe and accessible space for all types of road users, not just autos.
Yeah, and I know that I'm not an engineer myself, but I know they're working on traffic calming in Detroit specifically for non-motorists and pedestrians because I'm a part of a different group that's talking about all of that data. So traffic calming just slows the traffic down. I mean, there's more to it than that, but I'm not an engineer, so maybe Jenya can tell you about that. I don't even know. But another nice thing would be like a high-speed train. I don't know if we have a magic wand, why not? I actually live in Toledo, Ohio, and I would love to get to Detroit without driving there. So I don't know.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much to everyone who presented and everyone who asked questions. I think this was a really great session, and learned some really interesting stuff about all the work being done to make our roads safer, from a data-based perspective, right? Yeah, so thank you all again, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Been a pleasure.
Thank you for the work that you do. This is a wonderful, wonderful application of real nerdism.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out if you have questions.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
be happy to help you.
Thank you.